Welcome back to Archean, episode 12 of the Cargo Challenge. And in the last episode, went ahead and finally made it to shore and set up a little mini base with 12 geothermal units to help recharging our batteries. And for this episode, we're going to go ahead and increase those 4 to 10 to improve the recharging rate, and 10 is the maximum number of geothermal units you can have per single small steam turbine. And then the other thing we need to do is just start rebuilding or refitting our catamaran to be a little bigger and double the propulsion units on it. And so I got quite a few batteries here. I'm going to start stacking those up. And, now obviously while we're running this, we're actually draining this battery right here. From the other base, I know that 4 geothermal units cannot maintain the power draw of the mining conveyor unit and crusher. Not sure how many it would take to have a net balance, but going to be more than 4. Now I really didn't need to make sure that's empty, which it is. Turn this off. I really didn't need to bother with the mining. It was more of a for fun thing. Here's a beacon. We're going to get that powered up, and we're going to call that base 1. So every time we set up a base, we'll put a beacon on it. And since it's powered through geothermal, we'll never go dead. And here you see I'm using nothing for transmitting, but you could put up a computer there and collect information, put in a key value pair, and pump it through. So you can put out, the contents of the drilling or power levels or whatever else is interesting, and pull that data out from. I see anyway. There's no actual distance limit. And we're not up to full power. Just with 4, we'll hit about 110 kilowatts. So with 10, that should be 250 or, 250, 260 kilowatts. And that should speed up the battery recharging here. So I'm using concrete to expand the base. Since it's locked, it could be actually a material, and honestly, composite seems to be a lot easier to make in quantity versus concrete. Because every 200 units of concrete, I have to go onto the water and fill. So basically 200 units of concrete is my entire suit volume of water if I'm full. Now while that's running, we're going to strip out all the wiring and pull a lot of this apart. As I said, I did consider just lowering and dropping off the container and then just totally rebuilding everything, but it's a little excessive, so I'm just going to go with some minor, quote-unquote, minor changes. I'll pull this stuff off the pontoons. I'm going to make the pontoons a bit bigger. I'm going to put like a slightly sloped front there. Now one thing I found out is that when you have nested routers, only the very first router needs to be powered up. That seems to be a bug to me, but given that configuration, that means if I put a router or mini router right next to the computer, I can then run wire to routers spread across the ship, and those routers do not require any additional power. So effectively, by adding mini routers all over, I can reduce the number of data wires I run. And here, it's probably not worth the effort to pull the wires out, given how cheap it is to make more wire spools. I just would have grabbed the removing tool and just crowbar there and just yanked everything off and be done with it. and then just make more spools of wiring. That's just, I think, consumes too much time. I think in the future that's what I'm going to do. One of the things you try now and then. Unless the runs are really long or something like that, but these little runs is probably not worth the effort. And of course, I put these up and it turned dark and the solar panels. Now, at some point, I'm not going to make this additional 280 kilometers before it at night, so it's going to turn daylight at some point. And if I clean up the tops of these pontoons by putting stuff inside, then it gives you a little more surface area, and once the sun comes up, you know, a little extra power is always useful. Although I doubt I can run full bore on just solar panels, at least given the size of this ship. Never did use these lights. So once the moon came up, it was pretty bright. I don't need these switches anymore because I'm going to make improvements by using the seat controls when I'm in auto mode. Also, I'm going to centralize power more. Have all the power connected together. That way, you know, all lives or die. You'll still have one computer to drive the seat, but the propulsion system will all be driven through, I guess, one set of batteries, all linked together. And clean all this up. Wheels work. Now, I'm not sure if the wheels actually hurt the add drag in the water or not. I was under the impression that components don't impact, but I'm not sure about that. I guess you can do a test with a ship and put a whole bunch of wheels on it and see if it has any impact versus taking the wheels off or not. And I don't know if they're going to add this as a feature, but there's no way to get information about the, you know, the drag and lift efficiencies and things like that from the ship itself. Like a game like Dual Universe has all that information, so you can sort of plan while you're building and make sure everything's within your criteria. Sure, it's on their rather long things to do list. Got a few more batteries. Now, running out of inventory space might become a problem. I can take the excess stuff and just stick it in a container if need be. Okay, I'm gonna pop these top pieces off. And sort of measuring. So one thing I noticed that if you're in cube mode and you do the right click, it doesn't provide any information about that block. Actually, I'm going to put that in suggestion right now. All right, so I added a new suggestion that if you're using the construction tool and you right click and you're in block mode and you right click on a block or set of blocks that are linked together, you get that little information bar of the size like you do when you like for example, right now you see the a little black text bar right there. That should show up, and I'm trying to do this in concrete, which is the wrong stuff. So I got to switch. Anyway, so while you're in construction mode and you do the little highlighting and you get that little text bar, if I right click on something before I delete it, it should give me that same bar. It'd be a good way to kind of query what size of thing. I'm just kind of not sure. I don't know if this makes a difference, honestly. If the slope helps it do something better in the water or not. And make the size a little higher here. I'm not going to get too fancy here. I'm just going to slap these on here. What I meant by that, there's like a little 1 cube gap between the wall and the side there, and I guess I could have just made a new wall the right length and all that, but yeah, we'll just fill it in. We're not really that big to cause any real optimization problems at this point. Okay, this gives a lot more room. We can put a lot of batteries and wiring and all that crap inside here. That'll leave the top of the vessel open, and then for here we'll kind of fill this in. And we'll just put another. I think I'm making this thing nose heavy too, doing all this. What I'm going to do for center of gravity issues, when I lay out the batteries, I'm going to lay them out a little to the rear, and then decide that on the light side, I'll add a few more batteries, try to balance it out with batteries. Obviously, once I drop the cargo, the center of gravity will be off. But once we basically, I'm in drone mode underneath here, looking underneath this, how big those panels are. I say it doesn't matter if I mess up the center of gravity when I drop off the container, because at that point I should be done with this challenge. And while I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep the construction going on with the geothermal units and making more concrete, and I think concrete's a mistake. It's just composite's way easier to make at this if you don't have a constructor, it seems, because you don't have to keep jumping in the water. Although plastics require hopping into, but you can make a lot more plastic, much more composites for every dip into the ocean there. Take the rest of these batteries that are in my inventory and get them out of there, stack them up. Now, one could argue that it'd be a lot easier and faster just to throw all these old batteries away and just make a bunch of new batteries, and not even waste my time with all this other, not even waste my time with geothermal units or anything else. But part of this challenge is to do interesting things. And maybe at some point when I get close to the end, I may just start doing that and just say, well, heck with it, I'm almost there, just keep making batteries. I'll have to stop down then to make sure I have enough components to keep that going. When I leave here, I'll make sure I grovel through the stuff I have already crushed and refill my inventory. Take it with me. Obviously, silicon will never be a problem. And once I hit underway, I'm also start making more batteries to keep that going. There's also some of the bulk stuff like screws and casings and LEDs and sort of that basic stuff that kind of timely magnets. Just make a whole bunch of them early and get those stocks up. So have a whole bunch of magnets and those slow things already built. So if I need to make motors or batteries or other things, I can go for. I don't think I need magnets for large batteries, high voltage batteries. I can make a big fluid tank. It does make submarine use kind of interesting because you have you know, solar's not going to really work if you're underwater. It's pop to the surface for recharging if it's during the day. That leaves you batteries or nuclear power. There's no diesel or any other fuel source. You're going to be burning. I guess you could have jet engines for propulsion on the water. Technically, they should flame out underwater. I would assume. And try to. So now I have to nest because I'm past the magic 4 number. So that means I have to, you know, use the 4th output from the data and low voltage junctions to route to the next data or low voltage junction. So turns out the magic of 3. So if you have 10 of something, you need 3 of both low data and fluid junctions. And on the other side, I'll need 3 fluid junctions to accumulate all the steam to route it into the turbine. And we'll need another one. Now I'm just making these in a linear configuration. I could probably make a little more compact, maybe 2 rows of 5 or something like that. We need another data junction here. And I took that off not because it's blocking placement of the junction, it's just I'm going to use that input from the other junction to route to that junction. And one there, and one there, and we'll keep that last one open for that. That goes to there. That goes to there. All right. And once I get those things connected and powered, now they'll actually start digging before you connect the fluid, even for the input. So that to speed things up along, the first thing you want to do is get them all laid out and powered and turned on. And once that happens, then you can screw around with putting in the water supply, fluids, water input, and the other part while they're drilling down. And I want to make more concrete, so I figured I'd just make a little pad here to put the fluid junctions on. Grab some of those. Really not that bad making things out of your suit here, especially if you can overlap the construction time with other things. So once you get some, I'm building stuff as I lay stuff up. I see they're drilling down. Just it's so messy now, it probably doesn't matter so much. So I'm going to sort of daisy chain, so we'll take one of the ports and the other one, which will be that one. We'll remove that. Then we route that output into this input. And then that goes to there. That goes to there. That goes to there. And this one routes around to there. And one thing to note, if you take units that are producing steam but not that hot, and you merge that with the hot steam, it'll reduce the overall temperature. So we'll see that when I wire these up, the output from the turbine goes down because of that. And the correct thing to do is just kind of wait before you connect them up, and then once they get to a reasonable depth, then wire them all in, and back in the water. Yeah, apparently somebody ran like a 11,000 meter pipe from the water up to the mountains. Okay, to make one more geothermic, give us 10. Make sure I counted right. And the math works out because we use exactly all the ports. So by using 3 data junctions, all ports are used for 10 geothermal units. And same with the 3 low voltage and the 3 fluid. All right, now we have to connect up the other side. We'll do the same thing. Doesn't have to be too pretty because once we're out of here, we won't be coming back. And we are kind of low on liquid. What do I call it? Liquid pipe, fluid pipe. Route the output to the input of this one. And take this, toss it over here if I can figure out my mouse. Just don't like seeing the box close to me. Dive in the water here and get some more, fill up my suit tank. I have to disconnect part of this power while we're rewiring everything. We're running at, should be running at max, yeah, so 110 kilowatts. It gets routed to there. Should be the same because that fourth one was max depth. Now it should drop as we add these other ones on here. It actually went up for that one. I don't know because that the way the angle is. I thought there was only 3 left. There's 4 left, so I was kind of looking around. Did I miss one? And we'll just stick these anywhere. All right, now we got we had 110. Yeah, we dropped down to 94. That's going up pretty fast. I'm not going to put any more than 10. That's more than enough. Okay, so we'll let that get those geothermics down to higher, lower depths for higher steam or higher temperature steam. So while that's going on, I'll go ahead and build out the propulsion unit. Now the change I'm making, a couple changes from the previous design. One is the linear track will have more reach, so it'll be able to drop the props down much lower. Last time they kind of poking out of the water, and if the ship kind of curved or was tilted, and one prop more out of the water than the other, and it had uneven propulsion and made it do weird things. So this time we'll go ahead and make sure we get it much lower. I'm going to mount 2 propulsion units, 2 propellers on the end. So instead of having 1, we'll have 2. And I'm not going to use a pivot this time. I thought about using a pivot and have the whole unit pivot. I decided not to. I figured, given this is a catamaran and there's a pretty good distance between the 2 props, and also I noticed at the one time where I think I lost power on one side, I had something miswired. If you just run one prop on one side, it really does turn hard. So I figure I can do steering by just adjusting the 2 set of props. I'm sort of judging where I'm going to put it. Now I made the width of these even, so there's not like a middle block that I can use for the center point, and it doesn't really matter. I'm in this balance between something quick and dirty and something not so quick and dirty. Try to improve my building technique a little bit. Remember how tracks work here. And I was hoping that if I had the other one placed, as I add the blocks, because of symmetry mode, it would automatically add it to the other one, but that didn't actually happen. So I was still kind of stuck putting the blocks down manually for both. Although when you delete them, they seem to both go away. So yeah, it's the same problem I had before. I'm not sure how deep to make it. What I really should do here, which I don't, is I don't know why I deleted that. Oh, I know. I decided to move it. There's no reason to have the track control unit way up high. To run the wires way up there. I can run it lower. Yeah, I probably should have put it down 1 bit. Because it goes up, it goes either way, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can put that thing, technically at the bottom, but I'll put it there. And there I kind of see the bottom, and boom, put it there. And there's no track because I put it on the wrong one. So you want a track, you put it on the one with the ports on it. Okay, now we got a track. Oh, I did put the other one on the other side. Okay. Okay, we got track on this side. And what did it do over here? And we had tracks on this side. Okay, so that worked fine. Okay, so putting the component down first and then build a component is better. Now, because we have the positions inverted, because I wanted the both of the power on the inside, that means one's positive and one's negative. But this, as before, I'll just run these manually. So once I'm hit the water, I'll go ahead and drop them in, and hit shore, just raise it back up again. Just kind of thinking what I want to do here. I want to have it like, I don't know, a little nicer for the part that attaches there. So I'm thinking that I can't have to have it out a little bit. And like that, and the whole thing would move up and down. I'm just double checking that I didn't sort of like build a block in the wrong place and it's part of the actual ship instead of the track head. So kind of like looking at that, see how it looks. Now, one trick you can do is move it like a fraction of a block, like move it like 0.1 or something like that, 1.1, and then it'll be offset. So when you lay the blocks down, you know you're attaching it to the track head unit and not to the actual side of the vessel or the parent object. I actually don't do that trick here. It seems as long as I point at the right thing, it's fine. So whatever you point to is what it attaches to. So I'm thinking here, I'll just run it a little too long. And I didn't remember how long I made this. That was a mistake. I should have just sort of kept track of that. Because when we're in shore mode, it's all the way up. And so this week I was trying to fill this slot in. Okay, so I got that right. And I probably didn't remember how long that was. I guess I did a little bit down. I was kind of curious now if I just rammed it all the way down, would it lift the ship up? I guess it would. That's one way to get the ship up and out of room to work underneath it. Just put some tracks on the side of it and lift the whole thing up. And then if you have 4 of them, or even 3 technically, you can use the tilt device, and then you can make sure it's perfectly level by adjusting them. They have these blueprints in the store, in the workshop, that you just drop it down, it'll auto level itself. Because you drop a frame down on the ground to build a base, it's most likely not going to be level. There's no, like in some other type of games like this, when you put the first block down, it's always sort of level to the environment of the world itself, not the terrain. Here, that's not true. Okay, so I figured we'd just do something like this, since we're not going to pivot. So if I had a pivot, I'm trying to avoid, even though you can't collide within your own build. I'd rather not rely on that, and so they don't pivot. They don't have to worry about them spinning in and colliding with the structure itself. So you got 2 props. It's far enough. I was thinking they could put a 3rd prop. The problem is I'll just run out of battery power. So we'll go with the 2 props. And let's go here and check what's going on over here. So we're almost done with this episode. Trying to keep them reasonably short snippets, around 30 minutes each. It also makes the uploading and compression and all that fun and games a little easier. So we're got a lot more power now, so these should charge reasonably quickly. I gotta connect a few more batteries up. I would hate for us all the batteries to charge and I'm goofing off building and losing that power. Of course, you could put a computer on there with a buzzer and buzzes away when there's nothing to do. Or even a light that goes off. So let's connect these up, kind of easy. Yeah, it still takes a while until the sucker's charged up. And we're beacon up already. I was looking at beacon. Alright, so we're at the end. We're going to sort of kick back and sort of admire what we've done so far. We got to replicate the prop on the other side, and then we just have to wire it up and throw it together and ready to go someplace. And yeah, we got 1/10 of the way. Until next time, see ya.